Danke sehr. Thank you. So 2 years ago, I was standing on this point as the music director of the National Youth Orchestra of Iraq. And I was telling everybody about our 5 years of huge success. We were going to Aix-en-Provence. We did that. We performed in the Grand Théâtre de Provence. And then last year, we were planning to go to America. Everything fell apart because of ISIS. So the orchestra no longer exists. They're safe. They have not been hurt. But the orchestra as an organization can't do anything. So I'm going to just talk about the book I've finished in 3 minutes. 3 points. First, I'm going to talk about the language aspect. That's one factor that we've talked about today. Second, I'm going to talk about technology, another factor we've talked about today. And then I'm going to talk about music. So language. We've already experienced that when music happens, it's a different language. Yeah? We've spent the whole day listening to people talk. It's a lot to go in here. But when we involve ourselves in music, whether it be drumming or listening to a wonderful singer, then our brains change. We think and feel together in a different way. When I was working in Iraq, I had Kurds who couldn't speak Arabic. I had Arabs who couldn't speak Kurdish. And I had about 20% who could speak English. So on one side, there was a Kurdish translator repeating everything I said in Kurdish. And on another side, there was an Arabic translator in front of the orchestra repeating everything I said in Arabic. And that's the way we worked. But together, we made music. And that was the reconciliation process of bringing people together through music, orchestral music. We're talking Haydn, Beethoven, Schubert. To bring that very divided and very, very fractured land back together through young, talented people. The second point I want to make is technology. And this is a very important point. We used technology to bring us together. The internet got over the boundaries of Iraq. Nobody in Iraq could stop us using YouTube to do our auditions, Skype to teach our players. Nobody could stop us organizing everything online. And then when we did, it happened, and they were too slow to react. In other words, we broke down barriers on the ground by lifting the whole organization into cyberspace. A very important point, internet imperialism plays a very important part in the world today. What I mean by that is that the internet is so strongly influenced by Western culture and Western music that other traditions of music around the world are dying. They're suffering. Kids on their iPhones in Asia, in Africa, in South America are more interested in 50 Cent on YouTube than they are with the person who lives around the corner who can sing a folk song their grandmother taught them. And so huge traditions are dying out. So there are positive and negative sides to the way in which technology is influencing culture. The third point is music. We've already experienced today what music feels like. It feels different from language, and it unites us in different ways. But I want to talk for a second about Iraq specifically. Now, when the war officially ended in 2009, the problem was that there was no music teaching, there was an inexperienced government, and they were trying to rebuild their country. This is a country that had $100 billion in oil exports coming in per year. This was not a poor country. That government made some very bad choices based on corruption and greed and selfishness and religious sectarianism. They could have chosen reconciliation, like South Africa and the peace and reconciliation process. They had those choices. They could have chosen to invest in culture. They didn't. We didn't receive a penny of Iraqi money. All our money came from Germany, Britain, and France. And so, in total, what they had when ISIS marched in was a country where no single citizen had any idea what it meant to be Iraqi because nobody had invested in rebuilding culture. And that's the point I want to make today. Iraq is a living example of where a very evil and very psychopathic army can cut the whole country in half in a matter of months because nobody wants to defend it. Nobody knows what there is to defend. So in that window of time the Iraqi government had between 2009 and 2014, they could have rebuilt Iraq with all that money. I attempted with my players to rebuild a tiny, tiny little part. We did our best, but they failed. The point I'm making is invest in culture. It's not an added extra. It's not a nice middle-class thing to have. It's absolutely fundamentally essential. And that includes investing in new people coming into our culture from all different directions and sharing their culture with us, we're sharing our culture with them. Then we build a third way that is more safe and productive and more solid for the future of Germany in the 21st century. Thank you.